Before we dive into all of this, I think it will be useful to reiterate the framework, the first principles that I use to think about the human diet. I think about this in terms of a hierarchy, and I am considering a way to express this visually. Look for that on Instagram. But a food pyramid doesn't really do it justice, more of a totem pole. Think about the things that are at the top of the totem pole. What are the foods that are the most sought after by humans? Clearly, these are meat and organs, which come together. My friend Brian Johnson, Liver King, recently was in Africa visiting with the Hadza tribe, and he was with the same tribe that I was with a few years ago. It was pretty cool to see him there hunting and doing a lot of the same things, eating honey out of a tree. But these hunter-gatherers are a pretty decent reflection of where we've come from as humans, as Homo sapiens, as pre-hominid ancestors, Homo habilis and Homo erectus, for the last 2 to 4 million years. And it's very clear within these groups that meat and organs are the first food. They are at the top of the totem pole. This is the most sought after food by humans. Followed by what? Well, followed by honey. When the Hadza can get it, they eat it. Followed by what else? Well, fruit. It's sweet, it's colorful, and it has way less plant toxins. That's not even debatable. That's clear botanical science from the botanical biochemistry literature. So these are the most sought after food by humans. Organs, meat, fruit, honey, raw dairy as well is included in a lot of tribes. Brian was with the Maasai and was drinking raw milk along with blood. The Samburu in Kenya also do the same thing. They have milk and blood. So we see raw milk along with blood in many tribes, and these are also prized foods. Now, what's different about these foods relative to foods that may follow on the hierarchy? What's different? Well, the foods that I haven't talked about yet are the vegetables. And this is super important for everyone to understand. The vegetables are the foods that are canonically considered to be the most healthy for humans. And that is why I do the work I do, because I debate this very clearly. Let's think about this intuitively. Are those foods sought by humans? No, they are not. They are simply not sought by humans. They are not looked for. They are not treasured. They are not celebrated. The Hadza never had a salad hunting party. They never had dancing and singing after they brought back some pumpkin leaves. In fact, when I was there, they didn't even eat vegetables. I didn't see them eat a single vegetable. One time when I was with the Hadza last year in 2021 with my buddy Anthony Gustin in Tanzania, we did go with the women to dig tubers, and we got to eat the tubers that are traditionally dug by the Hadza, at least some of them. The men went with us, but they had essentially no interest in eating the tubers with us. And they let us try them. And I can tell you that when I ate this tuber, it was incredibly fibrous. You spit out the entire thing. There was no way you were going to chew and digest this. It was pretty gross, not sweet at all, kind of starchy, maybe a good source of a little bit of water, maybe a good source of some complex carbohydrates in the tuber, just basic calories, but not a whole lot in terms of a highly sought after food by humans. There clearly was no celebration around the tubers. They're the lowest on the totem pole. This has been documented by many others like Frank Marlowe. I've showed this paper titled Tubers as Fallback Foods for the Hadza many, many times. So it's very clear that within the Hadza and mirrored by other tribes throughout the world that are hunter-gatherers, though there are very few of them, the hierarchy is clear. The ascendancy is clear. Vegetables are at the bottom. They're survival foods. So why do I think that this has happened in human history? Because plants are smart and plants make defense chemicals. And that is what I have talked about so many times in my work. Many in the nutrition space believe for some reason that these defense chemicals are good for humans, but I think we need to take a different perspective and make sure that they are not bad for humans, because though we can attribute some physiologic benefits, or I should say physiologic effects of these plant chemicals in our bodies, these supposed defense chemicals, what we must always do is weigh the risks and the benefits. And I think that case after case after case will show us that the risks outweigh the benefits, and these plant chemicals are net negative, which is why I don't believe you need plant defense chemicals, why I don't believe these, quote, phytonutrients are even a nutrient at all. They're just defense chemicals. And they are concentrated in the parts of the plant that the plant does not want you to eat: the leaves, the stems, the roots, and the seeds. Seeds being seeds, nuts, grains, and legumes. Many of you will know all of this already. Many of you will find this a review. I hope it's still helpful. But for anyone new, I wanted to create this framework because as we dive into this realm of non-protein amino acids, it's very important to understand that this is not very surprising. These non-protein amino acids are found primarily in seeds, seeds being seeds, nuts, grains, and legumes. The seeds of plants are the things that if you plant in the ground, they will grow into a new plant. And these are very, very highly defended because these are the final repository of the DNA of these plants. And they are the place where the plants are putting all their energy to move the DNA to the next generation. If those are not full of defense chemicals, they will get eaten in abundance. They will get eaten overly aggressively by herbivores, and the plants will not pass on their DNA to the next generation, and the plant will go extinct. All life is seeking to pass on its genetic material to the next generation, whether it's an animal, a human, your dog, your cat, or your plant outside your window, it's all trying to do the same thing. And we all have different strategies for defending ourselves. Makes sense, right? So let's just, before we dive into non-protein amino acids, I want to make sure everyone understands this framework and the fact that I believe that there is good evidence that if you look carefully, you will find defense chemicals that are net negative, that are clearly harmful on balance for humans in leaves, in stems, in roots, in seeds of plants. And that is why I exclude them from my diet. That is what an animal-based diet is all about. It is comprised of organs, meat, fruit, honey, and raw dairy. These are the least defended foods, the foods that contain the least amount of toxins and the most bioavailable nutrients. So if you were going to construct the ideal diet for a human, if you were going to make the totem pole and only eat the foods that are celebrated by humans, that is what an animal-based diet is. And that is why I do this work. And that is why I think it is important to point out how dangerous and harmful some of these vegetable components can be.